Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
You never asked. Not when I stood there by the toilet, wedding ring pinched between my thumb and forefinger. The tremor in my hand so bad I almost dropped it by accident. But I did it on purpose. I flicked my wrist, and the ring made a hollow ping as it struck porcelain. It sank slowly, caught in the swirl of water I'd unleashed with a jerk on the handle. You never asked why my eyes were so vacant that morning, why I stared at the water until all that was left was the cold, empty bowl. I told myself I would fish it out if something in me screamed not to let it go. But there was only silence, a strangled hush somewhere deep inside my chest. So I let it stay there, gone. I'd once believed that ring symbolized everything. Faith, commitment, the promise of a future. Now it felt like a shackle I'd worn too long. Strange, how quickly a symbol of love can become a weight around your neck. Even stranger that you never noticed it strangling me. Back then, I was somebody else, someone who believed in building up a life, day by day, hour by hour, for a family. My name is John, 37 years old, American by birth and upbringing, but once upon a time, I thought of myself as a citizen of something bigger, a family circle that was unbreakable. I had a wife I cherished, Anna, and a son who brightened every morning with his laughter and unstoppable questions. And I had a steady job in logistics. Mundane, sure, but it paid the bills, allowed us to live comfortably in Denver. I thought we were happy. I didn't see it coming. I suppose men like me rarely do. We get tunnel vision. Work, pay the mortgage, make sure there's food on the table, tell ourselves we're doing the right thing. Maybe that's why we overlook the little details, like the notes in our son's backpack, or the strangely blissful expression on our wife's face when she returns from a jog. Or the subtle swirl of guilt in her voice when I ask, "Everything okay?" And she answers a bit too brightly, "Sure, honey. Just tired." Tired had become her favorite word. Her eyes, though, danced with an energy I hadn't seen in years. The day I found that note was the day my world began to crack. It was in our son's school bag. "You did great today, champ. Uncle Mike." My boy beamed at me, so proud, saying how Uncle Mike helped him with some push-ups or had given him a protein bar, something like that. The words blurred in my brain because we had no Uncle Mike. I confronted Anna that night. "Who's Mike?" I asked. She froze for a split second. "He's just a friend," I interrupted, finishing for her. "Or let me guess, your personal trainer at the gym." She blinked, tears in her eyes, but tried to force a laugh. He's been helping me with my running routine." "It's nothing." I wanted to believe her, but part of me couldn't. The more she insisted, the more I tasted bitterness on my tongue. And when I pressed her, she snapped, "You're barely here. You leave before dawn, come back after dark, you never talk, you never laugh with me anymore. And Mike listens." For a moment, we stood there in the bedroom. Two strangers in the place we'd once held each other every night. She rubbed her eyes, said something about me not understanding how lonely she felt. Then she crumbled into sobs. "I'm sorry," she repeated, as if those words could seal the cracks. But I just turned away. Eventually, she insisted nothing happened. Yet I knew. Maybe it was the way she sniffed the next morning, puffy-eyed. Maybe it was how she avoided my gaze when I tried to catch her eye. I wasn't sure exactly what she'd done, but my instincts roared that the boundaries of our marriage had been crossed. ******. A few days later, I did something I never thought I'd do. I ordered a DNA test. I'd started to notice too many coincidences. My boy's complexion, the shape of his face that didn't quite mirror mine or Anna's. I'd always chalked it up to recessive genes. But now, each time I looked at him, something twisted in my gut, a question that threatened my sanity. Am I even his father? I didn't breathe a word of it to Anna. I waited with the kind of tension that clings to your bones. I was haunted by the possibility that everything I believed about my life might be a lie. In those days, I stopped drinking coffee, stopped sleeping. Mostly. I just stare at my son, watch him laugh over cartoons. I wanted to hold him, to claim him as mine. But the shadow of doubt pulled me back. Anna went jogging every morning. She'd come back rosy-cheeked, breathless. In the shower, I hear the water running too long. It was like she needed extra time to compose herself, to wash off the remnants of guilt. Or that was how it seemed to me. I'm sure she was just trying to hold on to some illusion that everything was normal. The day the test results arrived, she was at the store. I opened the email in my office. I read it 3 times to be sure. Then a 4th, until the words sank into my brain like nails. Asterisk probability of paternity. 0%. Asterisk. I sat there for a long moment, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would crack a rib. Then everything went still, a perverse calm. I expected rage or an outburst or tears, but nothing came, just this icy numbness that settled in my gut. I realized with absolute clarity, I was not my son's biological father. That evening, Anna came home, saw the test result printout lying on the kitchen table. She went pale, mouth opening in a soundless cry. John. Oh, God, John. Don't. I cut her off. Don't say anything. She tried to speak anyway, but I just walked away, into our bedroom, locking the door behind me. I stood there in the dim lamplight, trying to collect the scattered shards of my mind. For a long time, I thought about leaving, just grabbing a bag and walking out. But something heavier than heartbreak weighed me down. I had to decide what kind of man I would be now, after this revelation. That night, I slept alone, fully clothed, sitting on the edge of the bed. Sleep was a joke. All I could do was stare at the moonlight creeping through the curtains, listening to Anna sob softly in the next room. Our home had become a morgue for our marriage. In the morning, I left the house before dawn, just as always. I didn't tell her anything. I couldn't speak without risking an explosion of anger or heartbreak. Work was hell. I was operating on autopilot, hearing nothing but a dull roar in my ears. The ring on my finger, the one I'd later toss into the toilet, felt unbearably heavy. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That evening, she cornered me the moment I stepped inside. John, please, she began, voice shaking, tears in her eyes. It was a mistake, I swear. I never meant. You never meant to get caught, I said coldly. Her hands trembled. I never meant to hurt you. You did anyway. She sniffed back tears. Mike, he was just there, you know. I was weak. You were always so distant. Stop, I cut in. You think just because I worked long hours to support us, I didn't care. It wasn't that. She tried, but her voice caught in a sob. I was lonely. You never noticed me. Never. God, you think that justifies it. You think that's an excuse. She shook her head, eyes wide. No, but, let me finish for you, I said, stepping closer. But you decided it was easier to spread your legs for him than to talk to me. She gasped, a raw, wounded sound, and slapped her hand over her mouth. John, she whispered, that's not fair. You don't understand how it happened. I clenched my fists, struggling to keep my voice level. He's the father, isn't he? At that, she sank to her knees, sobbing into her hands. I stared down at her, my mouth set in a grim line. Part of me wanted to scream, to yank her up and demand an explanation that made sense. But no explanation would. So I just stared, letting her cries fill the silence. I spent that night on the couch, my thoughts coiling like snakes in my head. I wanted to escape my own skin, wanted to vanish. A fleeting wish for death brushed against my mind. Asterisk, if I died, would the pain stop? Asterisk, the blackness in my chest felt unbearable. But I stayed, because I wasn't ready to give her the satisfaction of me running away. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A day passed, then a week. During that time, I barely said a word to her. Anna tried to reach me, tried to say sorry. She left notes on the kitchen counter. Asterisk, I love you, John. Don't leave. We can fix this. Asterisk, I threw them away unopened. She wept, tried jokes, tried cooking fancy meals. I ate them in silence, my face like stone. Our son, asterisk, her asterisk son, could tell something was wrong. He kept asking why I was so quiet, why Mom looked sad. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth, so I pretended. Gave him a half-hearted smile, a pat on the head, said something about grown-up issues. Inside, it felt like I was wearing a dead man's skin. Nothing fit right anymore. When I passed a mirror, I almost didn't recognize the cold eyes that stared back at me. The man I used to be had left the building. Then something unexpected happened. Her friends started texting me, under the guise of checking in. Women who once were only casual acquaintances seemed eager to meet for coffee, to talk about how I was holding up, ask if I needed anything. For the first time in my life, I responded. Normally, I'd never entertain the idea of flirting with another woman. But now, it seemed like a small step in some new direction. We met for coffee, once or twice. Just a vent, I told myself. They listened sympathetically, even gave me awkward hugs. I wasn't sure if it was pity or some deeper desire. But every time I saw Anna's face, how she noticed the text messages, or saw me getting dressed to go out, I felt a flicker of satisfaction. She'd lost any right to question me, but her panic was obvious. I'm just going out for coffee, I'd say. She'd open her mouth. With who? Is it Lisa or Jill? One of your old friends, right? She'd stare at me, tears building, but unable to forbid me or even protest, because she knew she had no moral ground left. I'd slip out, and each time I felt a little calmer, like I was carving out a corner of freedom for myself. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. One evening, she confronted me in the hallway. What are you doing? Her voice trembled. You're talking to my friends, meeting them. I shrugged, not even bothering to hide my phone. Why not? They reached out. They said you'd changed. Her eyes flashed. I'm still your wife, John. I barked a humorless laugh. Does that word still mean anything to you? She glared. You're taking this too far. I stepped closer, saw her flinch. Am I? You slept with another man, Anna. You had his child. Asterisk, raised that boy as my own. Asterisk, but I'm the one taking things too far. She slumped against the wall, tears brimming over. I wanted to feel pity, but all I found was emptiness. Now you can't betray me, I said quietly, because I'm not the same man you betrayed. Her voice came out in broken gasps. Please, I'm sorry. I walked away, heart pounding. I wasn't sure what I felt. Hatred, sadness, or just a deep numbness. Part of me wanted her to hurt the way I hurt. Another part was tired of it all, longing for some final release. Maybe even asterisk longing for death. Asterisk, but I wasn't going to give in to that. She tried to talk about therapy, to drag me along for couples counseling. But I refused. My revenge was simpler. I wanted her to witness a version of me she could never truly know or control. A man who might flirt with her friends, step out at odd hours without explanation. Not sleeping with them, not yet. Just letting them see me, letting them want me. I'd always been too proper before. Now that was gone. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. One friend, in particular, Karen, started texting me more often. She'd been part of Anna's circle for years. She admitted she'd had some issues with Anna, secrets they never resolved. At first, I was suspicious of her motives. But she was easy to talk to. She asked me to meet for lunch on a Saturday. We walked in a local park, the crisp autumn air cutting through my jacket. You don't deserve what she did, Karen said, with a sidelong look. I gave a curt nod, not sure if I believed her. What do I do now? She shrugged. Anything you want. You owe her nothing. We ended up sitting on a bench, her hand lightly brushing my arm. For a fleeting second, I thought about kissing her, a numb kind of curiosity. But I didn't. When I returned home, Anna was waiting, tension etched across her face. She stared at me with desperation, like a drowning person waiting for a life raft. "Where were you?" she said, voice hollow. "Out," I answered. She inhaled sharply, recognized the same coldness in my tone. And I could see a flicker of real fear in her expression. Maybe she truly realized then that I was gone. Days turned into weeks. During that time, I learned more about Anna's affair. She finally admitted the timeline. It had begun months before, right around the time she'd started taking running more seriously. She'd met Mike at the gym, and at first they only shared small talk. Then he offered to coach her for free. She liked the attention, the sense of being seen. He listened to me, she whispered one night, tears streaking her cheeks. I was so tired of being invisible. "With you," I felt. "Invisible," I finished. "So you solved that by jumping into his bed." She shook her head, exhaling the shuddery breath. "It wasn't like that at first. Oh God. It just happened. One time, then another. And then I was pregnant. I forced myself not to scream. You never thought to tell me the child wasn't mine." She pressed her palms to her face. "I convinced myself it was just a chance. Maybe the baby was yours. By then, I was too scared to ask him for a test. I prayed, every day, that it was yours." I laughed bitterly, the sound like broken glass. "Praying to who exactly?" She looked up, eyes rimmed in red. "John, please, if I could take it back." "But you can't," I snapped. "You can't unmake the last 8 years of my life, of me raising a child I thought was mine." She sobbed, reaching for me, but I stepped away. I felt my heart pounding, fists clenching. I wanted to vomit out every ounce of pain, to make her see the devastation inside me. Instead, I just stood there, trembling with suppressed rage. When she realized I wouldn't comfort her, she tried another tactic. She started defending Mike. "He's not a bad man," she murmured. "He was supportive when I felt alone." "Shut up," I snapped, stepping close. "I don't want to hear about how wonderful your lover is." Her lips trembled. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, over and over like a broken record. But the words slid off me, leaving no mark. I remember the night I saw them together. Really saw them. It was an accident, or maybe fate decided to twist the knife. I'd driven past the gym to check if Anna was there. I hadn't planned on going inside, but curiosity got the better of me. Parking outside, I walked in under the pretense of looking for a new trainer. It was late, near closing time, and most of the clientele had left. I found a vantage point on the second floor, overlooking the training mats, and there they were, Anna and Mike. He was showing her some stretching exercise, leaning over her, their bodies close, his hands on her thighs. An electric tension radiated between them. I could see it in the flush of her cheeks, the parted lips, the way her eyes flicked up to meet his. She arched her back slightly, letting out a half-stifled moan as he pressed her leg deeper into a stretch. My stomach clenched, but I couldn't tear my gaze away. Then he leaned in, whispered something near her ear, and she slid her arms around his neck. They kissed, slow at first, then deeper, an unmistakable hunger. Her body arched against him. My heart hammered, a savage roar in my ears. She looked so alive, so free in that moment. Something dark and primal rose in me, a combination of heartbreak and fury that threatened to explode. I forced myself to remain still, forced my breathing to slow. Through that glass partition, I witnessed everything. His hand sliding under her sports top, the curve of her neck as she tilted her head back, eyes closed in ecstasy. The entire room smelled of sweat and adrenaline, their raw desire fueling the air. I thought about barging in, ripping him off her. But an odd calm overcame me, the same numbness I'd felt when reading the DNA test. I realized I was looking at the truth. They weren't just friends or accidental lovers. They had a chemistry that burned. So I just stood there, watching until they separated, panting. Her eyes flickered with guilt. I saw her mouth something to him. Maybe we shouldn't. But there was no conviction in her face. They parted physically, but I could tell she was still locked in his orbit. I turned and left, drifting outside like a ghost. That night, as I lay awake on the couch yet again, I let my mind replay the images of her gasping in his arms, her nails digging into his broad shoulders. It cut deeper than any knife. But there was also a strange sense of finality. I'd seen it with my own eyes. I couldn't pretend to be ignorant anymore. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. It was after that moment that something in me truly died. I told Anna nothing about having witnessed them. She tried to talk, but I brushed past her, muttering about being tired. I existed in a void, going through daily motions, eating when I had to, sleeping in short bursts, ignoring her pleas. I started connecting with people from my past, old college friends, ex-coworkers, even some mutual acquaintances who'd always had a spark in their eyes when they talked to me. It wasn't so much to form a new relationship. It was more a message to Anna. Asterisk, you lost me. Asterisk word must have reached Mike, or maybe Anna told him, because one afternoon I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Asterisk, asterisk, Mike. Asterisk, asterisk, we need to talk. I'm sorry if things got out of hand. I almost laughed at the arrogance. Asterisk, out of hand. Asterisk, as if we were discussing a slight inconvenience, not the complete betrayal of our marriage. I didn't reply. A week later, he showed up at my doorstep. It was early evening. Our son was at a friend's house. Anna had just left for a late run. I opened the door to find him standing on my porch, looking uncomfortable in a zipped-up jacket, gym bag over his shoulder. John, he began quietly, I need to speak with you. I stared at him, said nothing, and stepped aside. He came in, shifting from foot to foot like a guilty dog. I want to say how sorry I am, he ventured. Yeah, I said, crossing my arms. I never intended. We connected, and it happened. I didn't know she was pregnant, not at first. By the time I realized, she said she'd handle it. I should have come clean to you, man to man. But, I cut in, voice low. But you didn't. He swallowed hard. No, I didn't. I didn't want to ruin things. She told me she loved you. I backed off. I saw you with her at the gym, I hissed. He froze, color draining from his face. Then he let out a long breath. I know. I messed up. I'm not proud of it. We stood in tense silence. I could practically hear his heartbeat. I wanted to punch him. Every muscle in my body coiled, imagining the satisfying crunch of my fist against his jaw. But instead, I just said, get out. He blinked. Wait, I want to help. Maybe financially. Help. You think money fixes the fact that I raised your son for 8 years, never knowing he wasn't mine? That I poured my love, my time, my everything, into a child who shares your blood? He winced, stepping back. If you need anything, I'll leave, I repeated softly, dangerously. For a moment, he looked like he might argue, but then he nodded, turned away, and left. I stood there in the entrance hall, hands shaking, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. In that moment, I realized something about myself. I was too tired to hate him fully. I was hollowed out, drained of everything. Hate, love, it was all diluted in a sea of cold acceptance. Asterisk, 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 Anna, and I hardly spoke for the next few days. My ring was already gone, flushed away. Sometimes I'd find her in the bedroom, staring at the empty ring box she'd discovered. She guessed, of course, what I'd done with it. But she didn't mention it, didn't scold me or cry about the cost. She just looked lost, like she was reading a story whose ending she dreaded. Then came a conversation I never saw coming. She approached me in the living room, wearing an old sweater and leggings, hair damp from the shower. "John," she said softly, "would you hate me if I said I want us to try again?" I stared at her. "Why would we? You have Mike." Her eyes welled up. "He's gone. I told him never to contact me again. I don't want him. I want you." I couldn't help it. I laughed, a harsh sound. "You want me? After all this? After I watched you moan in his arms?" She blanched. "You saw Yes, I saw you at the gym, Anna," I said flatly. "I saw everything." She shrank against the wall, face crumpling. It wasn't supposed to happen again, John." I raised my hands, silencing her. "Stop. I don't want to hear it. You did what you did. And now you're sorry. That doesn't erase it." She dissolved into sobs, reached for me, but I took a step back, letting her hands catch empty air. "What do you want me to do, Anna? Put my arms around you and say it's okay? Because it's not." She sank to the floor, tears dripping onto the carpet. I know I ruined everything. But I'm begging you, don't let me lose you." There was a time when her tears would have shattered me. I would have gone to my knees beside her, cradled her, promised we'd get through it. But I had nothing left to give. It was like I was trapped behind a wall of ice, numb and unreachable. I turned away, voice low. "You lost me a long time ago." After that, something like a stalemate settled over the house. She tried cooking my favorite meals, wearing her old dresses, playing the music we once danced to. But every attempt died in the tension between us. Meanwhile, her friends stopped calling her, maybe because they were calling me instead. They told her she'd lost a good man. One of them even told her, "He became the man you threw away." Anna told me that herself, tears in her eyes, as if it would spark remorse. But I felt nothing. I wasn't out for typical revenge. I didn't plan to take away the house or max out her credit cards. No, my revenge was simpler. I just let myself become the man who no longer needed her. Over time, the realization that I was gone, that I could stand in the same room and not give a damn, hit her harder than if I'd screamed or hit walls. She tried one last time, cornering me in the bedroom one morning as I was pulling on my jacket. "John," she said, voice quivering, I can't live like this, tiptoeing around your hatred. If you want to leave, I'll let you go. But if there's any chance, any small corner of your heart that still cares." I zipped my jacket and stared at her. Her eyes searched mine desperately. She trembled, as if bracing for a final blow. The only thing I could say was the truth. "I don't know who I am anymore, Anna. But I know I'm not the man you married. And you can't betray me again, because that man is gone." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. I saw her lips tremble, but she didn't speak. I left, letting the door close softly behind me. Exposition is over, I guess. This is the new me. The me who's accepted the knowledge that my wife's lover fathered the boy I call my son. Doesn't matter if the courts say he's legally mine. The blood in his veins is from another man. And the ring that once bound me to Anna is at the bottom of the Denver sewage line. Somewhere along the way, I realized that I no longer wished to die, but I also no longer wished to live the old life. I continued wearing a mask for our child's sake, giving him the presence of a dad. But there was a quiet distance in my eyes he couldn't quite name. Anna tried to hold on. She'd linger in the kitchen, ask me about my day. I'd answer in monosyllables, then retreat to the living room or my makeshift workspace. She hovered near me, like she hoped for a spark of conversation. But all she got was that silent, abiding cold. Maybe that's the worst punishment of all. Living side by side with a man who used to be your husband, who used to love you, but who's now an empty shell. I remember the night she finally broke down completely. It was raining. a steady downpour rattling the windows. She stood in the kitchen, still wearing her running clothes, hair plastered to her face from the drizzle outside. I heard her sobs before I saw her. When I stepped in, she turned, tears mixing with rainwater on her cheeks. "John," she said hoarsely, "I can't stand this silence. Scream at me. Hit me if you have to. But don't just stand there all cold." The anger rose in me, slow and dangerous. "You want me to break something. Would that make it better for you?" She trembled. "I want the old you back." "Well," I said, "that man died the day I opened that DNA test result." She inhaled a shaky breath. "So that's it. He's gone forever." I stared at her. "Yes." A strangled cry tore from her throat. She stepped closer, fists clenched. "Damn it, John. Do you think you're the only one in pain? I know I ruined us, but the guilt is killing me every second. I don't eat, I don't sleep. I keep seeing your face that day." I shot back. "Good. You deserve every ounce of it." She flinched as if I'd slapped her. Then, in a fit of heartbreak or desperation, she rushed forward, grabbed my shirt, and tried to kiss me. I jerked back, pushing her away. We stood, panting, water dripping from her hair onto the floor. "You can't fix this with your body," I said in a low, seething voice. She collapsed to her knees, pressing her palms to her face. I felt no urge to comfort her. "You never asked, Anna," I murmured, "if I prefer the truth or a lie. You decided for me." She sobbed quietly. "I'm so sorry." I stepped back, leaving her there on the cold tile while the rain hammered outside. Eventually, we reached the point where words were no longer necessary. We lived in the same house, but rarely crossed paths. My life changed in subtle ways. I started focusing on my own interests, invested more time in my physical health. I found a different gym, ironically. I never saw Mike there. Possibly he quit or moved. I didn't care. Anna shrank into herself, trying to find small ways to please me, cooking or leaving the porch light on when I came home late. But the difference was, I felt numb to her gestures. Another man might have found solace in an affair of his own, but for me, it wasn't about that. It was about finally realizing I didn't need to chase happiness with her or anyone else. It would be a lie to say I hated my own son, the boy I had raised since birth. I couldn't. I loved him, still do, but I also felt this deep, ripping pain whenever I looked at him. He was a living reminder of her betrayal. Yet he was innocent in all this, so I swallowed it down, tried to keep some semblance of paternal normalcy. We'd watch a movie, maybe toss a football around. He giggled, sometimes hugging me for no reason, and I'd hold him, feeling tears burn behind my eyes, because I knew someday he'd learn the truth, and I dreaded how it might change everything. The real climax came unexpectedly, months after the official meltdown. One evening, Anne approached me, her eyes dull, cheeks sunken. She seemed older, as if a decade had passed in a few months. "John," she said quietly, "I've made an appointment with a lawyer. I think it's best if we separate." I stared at her. I guess I'd expected something like this, but hearing it out loud still sent a small tremor through me. "We can't keep living like strangers under one roof," she went on. "It's killing us." I gave a short nod. "You're right." She blinked, maybe hoping I'd protest or argue, but I didn't. "I'm not asking for anything big," she continued. We need to figure out custody. He's your son in every way but blood, John." My chest tightened. For a moment, I struggled to keep my composure. "He's your son," I said evenly. She winced. "He loves you. He doesn't even know about Mike." "Does Mike want to be a father now?" I asked bitterly. She shook her head. "He's gone, remember. He wants no part of this." We stood there in a hush. Finally, I nodded. "Okay, we'll talk to the lawyer. Figure out something. Joint custody, maybe." She swallowed hard. "And us." I let out a breath. There is no us. Anna, you know that. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Then I guess we do this the legal way. I said nothing. Just let her walk out of the room. Shoulders slumped. The finality of it weighed on me, pressing against my lungs. Yet a part of me felt relief. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A couple of days later, she found me in the living room, quietly reading. She sat down across from me, her posture hesitant. I canceled the lawyer, she said softly. I looked up. Why? Her voice wavered. Because I realized, maybe you're right. Maybe that man you were is gone forever. But I can't. I can't stop hoping that the new you might still want something. Anything. I closed my eyes, frustration boiling. Anna, this is torture. 1 minute you want to separate. The next you want to hold on to me. Make up your mind. She clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles went white. I'm trying to do what's best for our son. Tearing his life apart might be the worst thing for him. And if we can find a way to coexist. Coexist. I let out a bitter chuckle. We're not roommates, Anna. We're not even friends. She swallowed. Then what do you want me to do? I shook my head. I don't know. It was the truth. My entire life had become a question mark. All I knew was that each day I woke with this dull ache in my chest, and each night I fell asleep with a heavier one. She rose to leave, but I said quietly, I'm sorry. She turned back, eyes uncertain. For what? I exhaled shakily. For failing you in my own way. For making you feel invisible. I might hate what you did, but I wasn't perfect either. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. That means a lot. It was small, but it was something. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That night, I dreamed of throwing the ring into the toilet again and again, watching it swirl away. Each time, I felt less certain of who I was. When morning came, I found Anna in the kitchen, sipping coffee, eyes puffy as if she hadn't slept. She gave me a fragile half-smile. John, I'll do anything, she said softly. I'll go to therapy alone, or with you, or I'll move out if you want me to. Just tell me. I stared at the lines in her face. She looked so small, so desperate. And I realized something. I no longer needed her guilt or her tears. The coldness inside me was enough. She had no power to wound me further. So I nodded slowly. If you really want to fix something, start with yourself. I said, I'm not sure there's a path for us. But maybe if you become someone new, we can talk. I can't promise anything. She pressed her lips together, eyes brimming with some flicker of hope. I'll do whatever it takes. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. In the weeks that followed, she did just that. Sought therapy. Tried to address her own emptiness that led her to Mike. I watched from a distance, not actively participating, but not discouraging her either. My life continued as a quiet routine, with work and occasional coffee meets. Some nights, after our son went to bed, she'd approach me timidly, ask if I was okay. I always shrugged, but something was shifting, like the tension was loosening, replaced by a cold acceptance of our situation. She kept her distance physically, sensing I wasn't ready for any closeness. We coexisted for the sake of the child, under the same roof, with an unspoken agreement that the old illusions of marriage were shattered. Part of me suspected that, in time, we'd drift to a real divorce. Another part wondered if maybe a new relationship could grow from the ashes. But I honestly didn't care enough to push in any direction. I discovered a strange sense of peace in that indifference. A year ago, I would have laughed at the idea that cold is an emotion. But I've learned it absolutely is. The absence of warmth can be a force so potent it leaves deeper scars than anger. Anna once said to me, I'm afraid you're going to hate me forever. I answered, I don't hate you. I just don't feel asterisk anything asterisk for you. She cried at that, maybe more than all her previous tears combined. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. In the final unraveling, we didn't have a grand confrontation or a dramatic showdown. Our big drama had already happened. The day I flushed my ring. The day I found the DNA test. The day I saw her at the gym, locked in Mike's arms. All the heartbreak and fury had burned through me, leaving only a numb, battered soul. If this were a Hollywood story, maybe I'd have thrown them both out, or drowned in a bottle, or hammered out some comeuppance. But real life is murkier. Sometimes the worst punishment is just becoming a different person, one who no longer invests any piece of himself in the one who betrayed him. I remember a conversation with one of Anna's old friends who'd reached out to me privately. She said, "I tried talking to Anna, but she's not the same. She said she lost you, and now you're some new man that she doesn't recognize." I replied, "I don't recognize myself either." That's when I realized how true it was. The man I used to be, trusting, loving, warm, he died. In his place stands someone else, harder, colder, more distant. I can't say I'm proud of it, but it's who I am now. People sometimes expect a neat moral, a big lesson. All I've got is this: betrayal changes us. We can't always go back. And that's sometimes the real tragedy. We survive, yes, but we don't remain the same. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The day I finally left for good, I didn't slam doors or fling accusations. I simply packed a small suitcase and told Anna I needed some space. She stood in the doorway, face pale, tears threatening to fall. "I'll wait for you," she murmured. "No matter how long it takes." I nodded. "You do what you need to do." Our son stood behind her, confused, clutching a toy truck. He looked up at me, brow furrowed. "Where are you going, Dad?" "Just for a little while," I said, forcing a gentle tone. "Be good, okay?" He nodded uncertainly, stepping forward to hug me. My throat tightened, and I closed my eyes, hugging him back. He smelled like shampoo and innocence. I felt my heart crack just a bit more. Anna sobbed softly, watching us. I pulled away, not meeting her gaze. Then I walked out, stepping into the crisp Denver air. I don't know if that was the final end. Maybe I'd return, maybe not. But in that moment, I understood what real emptiness feels like. An endless hush in my soul. The old me would have run back at the first tear, the first plea. But the new me? He kept walking. And that was, perhaps, the loudest scream or the deepest silence I have ever known. I never truly got revenge. I never needed to. Because, in the aftermath of betrayal, it wasn't about payback. It was about becoming someone else, a man who could look at her tears and feel no urge to comfort her. That's what remains when trust is shattered beyond repair. A cold that burns deeper than any flame. That's the man she'll have to face each day, or remember when she closes her eyes. That's the final hush after all the screaming is done.